Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on our own emotions. We're going to explore those hidden mechanics that create those super frustrating cycles we all get stuck in, and, more importantly, how to actually break them for good.
You know that feeling, right? That exhausting loop. You feel anxious or ashamed or angry, and the second you try to fight it, somehow it just gets stronger. You try to push it away, you ignore it, but it just comes roaring back. So, why is this internal battle so hard to win?
Well, this right here gets to the absolute core of the problem. We treat our painful feelings, that anxiety, that sadness, as if they are the enemy. But what if they're just symptoms? Trying to suppress them is kind of like taking an aspirin for the pain of an infection. Yeah, it might give you a little temporary relief, but it does absolutely nothing to treat the underlying cause. And until you treat the source, that pain is just going to keep coming back.
So, if the feelings are just symptoms, what's the real source? What's the infection? It's not the emotion itself, it's our reaction to it. These reactions are what experts call negative coping mechanisms. Think of them as these well-intentioned but really faulty strategies. Things like avoiding situations that make you nervous or endlessly worrying about what might go wrong. In the moment, it feels like they're protecting you, but in the long run, they are the very things that feed that emotional infection and keep you trapped.
Okay, so here's our game plan for breaking the cycle. First, we're going to map out the system itself, the emotional vicious cycle. Then we'll dive into two of its most powerful traps, the avoidance trap and the thought spiral. And finally, we'll chart a course out of there by learning to navigate with your own inner compass.
All right, part 1, the emotional vicious cycle. To break the cycle, you first have to see it clearly. It often feels totally chaotic, but our emotional loops, they aren't random. There's a hidden, predictable pattern at play, and that's what we're about to uncover right now.
Think of these as the most common glitches in our emotional operating system. You'll probably recognize your own personal favorites on this list. There's avoiding feelings or thoughts, getting stuck in worry loops about the future, or rumination, where you just replay past problems over and over. And of course, the big ones, self-blame or blaming others. Most of us have a few go-tos, and these are what create that vicious cycle.
So let's talk about part 2, the avoidance trap. Of all those glitches we just saw, this first one is maybe the most common, and definitely the most deceptive. It feels like a solution, but it's actually a trap. Let's dig into avoidance.
So, what exactly is behavioral avoidance? It's when you start making your world smaller and smaller to avoid discomfort. You don't go to the party because of social anxiety. You put off that big project because you're afraid of failing. You don't have that tough conversation because you're scared of conflict. And here's the kicker. Each time you avoid, you're basically teaching your brain, see, I couldn't have handled it.
Now, this is what's so fascinating. Look at the trade-off here. The avoidance path, it gives you immediate relief. Whew, you dodge the scary thing. But the long-term cost is huge. Your life literally shrinks. The action path is the total opposite. It requires some short-term discomfort for sure, but it leads to long-term growth. Your world actually gets bigger.
So how do you get on that action path? It's honestly simpler than you might think. First step, identify your values. What truly deeply matters to you? Is it connection, courage, learning? Second, schedule one tiny action that lines up with one of those values. We're not talking a huge leap here, just a small, concrete step. And third, repeat and build. The magic isn't in one giant heroic act, it's in the momentum you create. These small, consistent actions are what dismantle the cage of avoidance.
Okay, part 3, the thought spiral. Now, avoidance is about what we do, but the cycle has another powerful engine, what we think. If avoidance shrinks your world from the outside in, the thought spiral traps you from the inside out.
This is a direct quote from a case study, a real thought that someone got totally stuck on after a tough moment with their child. It just feels so total, so absolute. It's not, I had a tough moment, it's, I am a failure. This kind of black or white thinking is the rocket fuel for a downward spiral of shame and guilt.
The antidote to this rigid all-or-nothing thinking is called flexible thinking. And let's be really clear, this is not about pretending everything is sunshine and rainbows. It's about being more honest with ourselves about reality. It's about acknowledging that things are rarely 100% bad or 100% good.
And this illustrates perfectly how to do it. Just look at the shift here. Instead of I'm blowing it, you try to quantify it. Okay, maybe 30% of me is scared, but 70% of me is coping. Instead of I can't do anything right, maybe it's more like, 5% of the time I make mistakes,
But the rest of the time, I do all right. Using percentages like this actually breaks the spell of that absolute thinking and lets a more balanced, realistic perspective in.
All right, part 4, living by your compass. We've tackled the actions we avoid and the thoughts that trap us, so this brings us to the master skill that really powers everything else, building a life that's guided not by the shifting weather of our feelings, but by a steady, internal compass.
I just love this metaphor. Emotions come and go like the weather, right? Sometimes it's stormy, sometimes it's calm. If you try to steer your life based on the weather, you're going to get thrown all over the place. But your values, they're like a compass. They give you a steady direction, a true north, that you can follow no matter what the emotional forecast looks like. But, and this is so important, we have to distinguish values from simple preferences. Preferences are about what you enjoy. A great cup of coffee, a fun day at the beach. They're wonderful, but they don't offer direction. Values are about who you want to be, the qualities of action you want to bring to the world, like being a compassionate friend, a courageous employee, or a present parent. They point you toward a life of purpose. And here's what that looks like in the real world. You can intentionally build your week around what matters. You still have your must-dos, the M's, like paying bills, and your moments of pleasure, the P's, like watching a movie. But you make sure to schedule in actions that reflect your values, the V's. Calling your parents, reading to your kids, exercising. This is how you translate those big, abstract values into a concrete, meaningful life, one small action at a time. And that's really the secret to breaking the cycle. It isn't about winning some epic war against your feelings. It's about choosing to take one small step at a time in a direction that truly matters to you. So, I'll leave you with this question to think about. If you look at your own inner compass, right now, what is one small action it's pointing you toward today?